Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline. I am talking dark timeline stuff. Unfortunately, it's one of those episodes where I go on a bit of a moaning spree. Every now and then we have to put up with one of these. But I try and justify that it is a valid one. Yeah. I talk about children not understanding or knowing the joy of Christmas, all of the stresses and strains going on at the moment, and Black Friday. Did I make a purchase? Let's find out. There's TV, movies and games, and plenty of them to be going at. So, there we go. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And, if you like this podcast, maybe share it around with a few people, see if they like it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello! How are we all doing? Are we well? Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's doing good. In some ways I feel like I want to caveat this episode. A little while ago, there was a conversation about this podcast. And somebody I don't think their intention was to be insulted in any way. I think they were just stating a fact. They were like, "Oh, that's that podcast where you just moan about stuff." And I was like, "Well, no, not necessarily." They were like, "Yeah, but you do." And at that time, I was a bit like, "Oh, yeah, I guess you're right." And it made me think, and I started thinking, like, maybe that's not the best way to run a podcast, to do a podcast. I'd always looked at it as just a way of me getting stuff off my chest, things that were bothering me and I was dealing with, and so on, and all of this. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's not the best content. So I made a concerted effort to make it a little bit more cheery in some ways. And I largely moved away from certain stuff. I just basically was like, I won't talk about that anymore. But, and you knew there was a book coming, there is also an element of when I'm like, oh, this week this happened and that, this week the other happened. And there are points where the week isn't exactly the best of weeks. And rather than being like, oh, well, it wasn't the best of weeks, I'll just ignore that and move on. I do think it's important in some ways to acknowledge that not everything's always the best. I have talked at length in the past about how this time of year not always the best for me personally, and I think it'll sort of show by this point that I've gone into various different ways and methods and means of trying to change that for me personally, for my family and the people around me. But I can't fully escape the fact that ultimately it is what it is. So you will have to forgive me for talking in this episode about... it's a little bit of like how things are at the moment. No massive drama, no massive reveal, no like, oh, just some things that I'm not going to lie, for want of a better way of putting it, are difficult at the moment. So there's that. But that's not what I want to talk about first. I think I've already spoken about this, which doesn't help. Either I have, and I'm now, money for old rope situation, or I haven't, and it's all fresh. Not sure. I have a feeling I've spoken about it. Anyway. Cannot escape the fact that it is that time of year. At the point in time that this podcast comes out, it will very much be that time of year. It'll possibly even be within a week of, or a couple of days of the big day. We've now officially ticked over into December. I am fine with talking about the Christmas, because I feel that's acceptable. That's me personally. That is the way I do things. I just feel there's other stuff in life that we can, look forward to and enjoy before we get to this point. And as I say to everybody, once you get to December, go nuts. Go all out. But there's this subject that keeps coming up, and I keep talking to people about it, and I keep saying, like, it was different for us. It was different for us. And there's been a couple of things that have come up recently where I'm like, that question of, did we have it better? Because although a view might be that some things were worse, not worse, but different, was it better? So, a few of the things I want to go through are, I feel I feel sorry for my children. I feel sorry for you guys right now because I've got this frog situation again. So I'm sure we'll enjoy that for the next 20 minutes. I feel sorry for my children because they don't seem to understand, acknowledge, or experience what I would call the excitement side of it. I would say a couple of my children get excited in general for Christmas. I don't want to belittle or play down other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I think I have a child that is less enthused by it. And I have a child that I think doesn't quite grasp it all as a concept. And that's the cross section. Probably not hard to work out which is which. And I imagine that their ages affect that massively. But here's the thing. When I was a child, I was like, oh, there's this thing I want for Christmas, and it's all you could think about. It's all you could talk about. Every conversation, every adult you came in contact with, you spoke to about the thing you wanted for Christmas, in case you needed to reinforce with them or with everybody in the vicinity that was the thing you wanted for Christmas. As years went on, obviously, it would be a situation where you'd want more and more and more, and bigger and bigger and bigger, more elaborate. Once computers got involved, then that was a real sort of change. And once computer games became a factor, that was where things, I imagine, got more difficult. I'd seen this, somebody had made a song about their childhood and how they'd done it as, like, they dedicated it to their parents because they knew that their parents weren't particularly well off, and they were going to struggle to be able to provide them with the Super Nintendo. But it didn't stop them sort of saying, in an ideal world, this is what I'd like for Christmas. I know that's not possible. And then when they, Christmas morning, they opened it up and there was the Super Nintendo, their minds were blown. And I saw this song this person had written, and I was like, I had that experience as a child. almost to the letter. I wanted the Super Nintendo, the SNES, and if I could have picked, in an ideal situation, if I could have picked, I would have wanted the Super Mario Brothers 3 version, because the latest Mario game, and I wanted to play it, and then I was like, I could get Street Fighter, and I could Pilot Wings, and all these things. However, I was also blissfully aware that we weren't particularly well off. And although you could ask for a big thing at Christmas, that was too big. It was hundreds of pounds. We didn't have that sort of... My mother didn't have that sort of capability when there was me and my sister, and just Christmas. She was doing it on her own. Christmas in general. All of that. It just wasn't a thing. Just wasn't at all possible. But it doesn't... That information doesn't stop you wanting something. You just appreciate it's just not going to happen. And that was that. So the conversation would be this: what do you want for Christmas? I've asked for this and I've asked for that. But if I could have anything, like in an ideal world, if I could have anything at all, I'd like a Super Nintendo. But I know it's too much and I know it's too big a gift. So I'm not asking for it for Christmas. But in a world where I could have anything I want, that would be it. All right, okay. And then, Christmas rolls round. Don't open that one just yet. Open others. And you look and you're like, it's a big box, but you know that it's not the Super Nintendo, because you know that it's not like, maybe that big box is... It's not. You don't live in a household, you don't live in a family, you're not part of the world where you get a Super Nintendo for Christmas, because it's just not a thing. It's not possible. It's not it's a no. So you go, that would be great, it would be amazing, but I'm fine with it because I understand the situation. Things are difficult. It's just us. You get to the back end of Christmas and it's like, what do I open next? And you've had a great time and it's a great day and you're a child and you're loving life and it's the best day of the year and everything's fantastic. What should I open next? Or maybe you should open the big one. Like, are you sure? It's quite big, and you slide it out and there's a little bit of... It's quite heavy. I mean, it's a big box. So big and heavy kind of in a lot of ways go together, but not exclusively. So, you tear that first bit of wrapping paper and you're delicate with it because it's a big box, and so you just tear. You don't tear it. You try and like unpick the sellotape from the side. It's getting to the end, last couple of bits or whatever. And you're able to slide the box out of the wrapping paper. So much, but then it doesn't, and you tear the rest of the paper off. And there you see a logo that you've stared at for, in some way, hundreds of hours in your life by that point. And you go, wait, what? And your instinct, your initial feeling is, this is a joke. Somebody is playing a trick on me and I don't think this is very nice. And I am not happy about this because I really wanted a Super Nintendo for Christmas and I knew I couldn't have one. So for someone to now be like, here you go, I was like, it's just going to be the box. And you pause for a minute and you process all of this and you're hurt. You're a little upset. You're like, no, I don't think that's a very nice thing to do. Christmas Day, we're having a nice time, now you've ruined it. kind of thing. You compose yourself, you go back in, you get the rest of the paper off, and it's there. Or at least the box is. Super Nintendo. Brand new Super Nintendo. And it's the Super Mario Bros. 3 version. And you're like, what the fuck is happening right now? What the fuck? Never in a million billion years would you imagine that in that moment you would be opening the Super Nintendo with Mario Bros. 3. It's not possible. That's not a thing. It's just not happening. And you're like, you look at, I looked at my parent and was like, how is this? What is happening? How is this a thing? And big smiles and all this, and it's like, but how? And then as time goes on and it unfolds, it turns out it wasn't just my mother. It was like my grandparents had helped, and because it was the thing that I really wanted for Christmas, and they, as family, they wanted me to have that as that to be my experience of Christmas. And I will have been emotional, and I was at a certain age, and I was like, it just meant so much, and it was so much more than you could ever hope for, and all of this. Now I've just spent 12 minutes explaining to you that one gift on that one Christmas. Do I think that my children are going to have similar experiences? Maybe over the course of their life. Do I think they're going to have that experience this Christmas? One of my children, when you ask them, what do you want for Christmas? They're like, I actually thought of something. And you're like, fuck me, finally, what is it? And they go, I want this. And it's like, okay, that's going to set me back about £12. Oh, this is I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about that's not, look, I know, money and blah, 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 but in an ideal world, I'd really like ridiculous thing. It's not that. And then you've got the other ones that are like, I looked in the catalogue and I went to the toy shop and I just listed everything I saw. Okay, can you tell me what any of those things are right now? Oh, can I look at my list? No. And then you've got a certain somebody who shall remain nameless, was with me at the point in time that I popped the boot open, which revealed one of his Christmas presents. Sorry, one of their Christmas presents, and I went, motherfucker. And he was just like, what's that? And I'm like, I don't know, what are you talking about? What's what? He's like, what's that thing there? And I'm like, I don't know, get in the car. Why is that in the boot? I don't know what you're talking about. I think you might be, did you bang your head? I think you might be hallucinating. Do you feel okay? And I was like, motherfucker. One of my children is very much like, I have asked for this, and I have asked for that, and I have asked for the other. I do have a couple of children who are like, I think if you asked them if they could list 2 items from their Christmas list, they'd struggle. And like I say, another child that I'm like, if you got nothing for Christmas, would you care? And I'm like, you're missing. I'm just like, you're missing the point. The point is, you're supposed to wait nearly all year for this. I've got one child who has to wait an entire year for Christmas. What do you want for Christmas? I don't know. I've got one child who has to wait nearly an entire year for Christmas. What do you want for Christmas? I've got one child who has to wait what seemed like 5 minutes for Christmas. So that's kind of more understandable. When you're like, what do you want for Christmas? They're like, I don't know. Didn't know what I wanted for my birthday. I get it, but what is there, you know, what are they going to look back on? What are they going to look back and say, Christmas 2016, I wanted this thing, and it was the only thing I wanted, and I didn't think I was going to get it, but I did, and it was the best day ever. Or are they going to be like, I can't tell you a single thing I got for Christmas for 20 years. Which version do we think? It just makes me sad. It makes me sad. It makes me sad for them. I feel like they're missing not the point as such. I just feel like they're missing out. Maybe that's the way the world has changed. We've just got so much stuff so readily available that I don't know. So strap yourselves in, kids. This is the bit I was talking about. Straight out of the front, here we go. I'm not having the best of time. I'm not having what I would call a good time. I expressed this recently. I was struggling with some parenting things, but that's all just like a symptom of everything else. So the sensible thing, the thing to do, was to make a really long list of all the things that are going wrong at the moment. Weirdly, I put my success as the first thing. I built a flat pack. This is how bad things. I don't just mean current. I mean certain things. This is how bad certain things are. Leon's got this flat pack. She's like, I'm going to build it in a bit. And I was like, well, I can build it. And her response was, I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, no, I can do it. She was like, I don't think you should. I'm like, that says a lot about me. And in that, I was like, I kind of now want to do it just somewhat out of spite, and I'm not going to swear once. And I did. Now, I will hold my hands up on this one. It was an exceptional flat pack. It went together like a dream. I cannot take any responsibility for that. I do feel if it had been ever so slightly difficult, it'd have been a different story. But my goal was to not do a single swearsy, as I keep saying to people. I didn't do a single swearsy. I'm having sleep issues. Largely, I don't know if it's like I feel like I'm stressed with a variety of things, and that's stopping me from going to sleep. I've been using this sleep technique. There's a load of breathing you can do to sort of essentially to calm your mind. It's like a mini meditation thing, and I've been doing that to sort of aid myself in trying to go to sleep. But the problem I've been having is that I've been going to bed later and later and later. Falling into some old patterns because I hate lying in bed waiting to fall asleep. I just can't do it. What you would expect from that is that I'm tired the rest of the time, but that's another aspect, another problem. I don't seem to be, and I'm like, well, from an age perspective, have I reached the fabled point in life where you just need less sleep? Is that a thing? Now, don't get me wrong. I still will snatch your hand off for a nap in the afternoon. But recently, there's been points where I'm like, I don't feel like I need a nap, so I'm going to do other things instead. So I'm like, how does this tie into things? Is it a symptom of, you can have that, you struggle to sleep if you're depressed and stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe those are going together. But presumably you would have to recoup the sleep elsewhere, which I'm not. Apart from, I am in that pattern of struggling to get out of bed on a morning. But flip side, it's winter and it's dark and it's cold and it's horrible. Raining most of the time. 2, don't get the option because my son decides the day starts between 1:30 in the morning, was my favourite one recently. 5 o'clock in the morning, also big up there. And what is essentially the time he gets up, which is 6:30, where I'm like, fuck, bro. So I'm awake then, but then I'm like, I don't need to be awake now. I need to go back to sleep. And we all know what the outcome there is. So next thing I'm like, shit, I should have been up by now. And oh my God, I should have got up. And I've like, there's been a couple of days where I've like had to sort of change my morning round because I, didn't get up. And then you go, well, wait, is that a symptom? You don't want to get out of bed when you're depressed and all of that. Something I've noticed recently is I am a gamer. I game. I was playing computer games before I started this podcast because I had half an hour. And as it turned out, I only had 15 minutes. Life. So I play computer games and I enjoy computer games. I enjoy them a lot. I am probably too old to play computer games, but it's something that I've enjoyed. See previous comment about Super Nintendo. It's always been a thing of mine. It's always been one of those things that I've never sort of let go of because who am I really hurting playing a game on my own at 11 o'clock at night? Yes, there are other things I could be doing with my time, but it's how I unwind, de-stress, whatever. Recently, I have noticed that computer games, many of them are really doing it for me. They're really ticking a lot of boxes for me. I'm really enjoying them. I feel like there's not enough time to play computer games, and the games I'm playing, I'm like, oh man, I've got to play this for half an hour, and then I've got to rush over and play this for half an hour. And oh, I didn't play that today. Oh man, oh woe is me, and all of this stuff. A lot of which I'll go into in a bit when we talk about computer games, ironically, but as a gamer who enjoys computer games, every now and then you have to look at why that is. Ultimately, computer games are an escape from life, your life in particular, and that can be another symptom. If you're getting a little too much enjoyment from computer games, it could be because you're using them a little too much as an escape, or a little too much as a crutch, or a little bit too much in general. I've had to sort of monitor it a little bit. I'm not playing any more than I normally would, or I used to, or any of those things. It's a little more insistent is maybe the word. I've had a work situation going on, which is sort of manifesting into me enjoying work less and less and less. And I know work's not exactly designed to be enjoyable, but my job falls into the category of I don't hate it. And I like a variety of people that I work either with or, I see when I'm at work, or I, communicate with, or whatever. So it's very much in that middle ground of I don't wake up every day and hate my job and hate my life and hate whatever. So that is a big win for me. Recently, I have experienced some difficulties. I'm not a big fan of certain aspects. Again, it's another stressful situation. It's another stress that add in, and I dread Monday mornings because, as we all know, I really can't handle Monday mornings. I can't do Monday mornings. There's a lot I have to deal with. I know everybody has to deal with Monday morning, but there's a lot. Like, I feel like I've got like one piece too many for me. And I'm hoping like next year and sort of later into next year that those things are going to change somewhat and it's going to be a different situation. And I'm kind of hoping to sort of relieve that one piece of stress, that one direction, and make it so it's a little less abrasive on a Monday morning where you're like, oh, fucking goddamn, I fucking hate Mondays. But not in the Garfield sense, more in the, if I could just not have to deal with one of these things, it'd be easier. So there's that. I wrote something down and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it, but I've recently been experiencing this kind of, I still don't know if I'm going to talk. All right. It sounds lame, and that's my problem, but it is a thing, and it is something I've been dealing with, and I don't know why. I don't know what's changed. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm in a variety of these sort of different situations where I'm not getting on with other people, and other people are not getting on with me, and I'm like, I don't know why this is. And at the weekend, I had to take this really long look at myself and think, do these things span from off the back of the way that I sort of treat people in general, treat people in the past? I think there's like, I had a thing recently, I spoke about it on the podcast, where I had to, one of my children highlighted this like major flaw in me, and I had to address it, and I was like, something, you're right, it's wrong, and I shouldn't do that, and I'm going to work on it, and I've worked on it ever since. But I think recently I've been dealing with like the aftermath of one of these things, and I feel like almost like it's all gone too far, and I'm like, I'm not that person anymore, and all of the people involved are like, we don't care, and it's very solitary. I had a situation on Saturday where I was sort of out and doing stuff, and I got to a point where I was like, all I want to do right now is go home. I want to leave this situation. I want to go home. I want to be at home with my family, and I want to spend time with them. And because, at least I know I can, and, I'll enjoy my time with my family. And then it turned into this spiral where I was like, well, maybe they don't want to spend time with me. Maybe they don't like me. Maybe they don't want to, associate with me. And, and then I was like pulling apart each of the people, and like, oh, maybe that person doesn't, maybe I'm not a good dad or partner or person, or and this spiral of sort of thinking, maybe I've really fucked up in life in a particular point in time, and maybe I'm now living the suck, I suppose, and it's not a lot of fun. And if you add all these like pieces together, it's like things are kind of fucking miserable. And then, how I always talk about how I'm cursed. Like, I have these points in time where I'm like really cursed. And I think like feeling the way I'm feeling at the moment, there's all these sort of little pieces and all this sort of stuff. And then I had that kind of oh shit, the curse has kicked in, because it kicks in at various points in time. And this morning I'm trying to leave the house, and I got, it's going to sound weird, I got a key ring trapped in the door, and in the process of trying to shut the door and shut the door and shut the door, the key ring broke. But it's a special key ring to me. It's one of my favourites. I know it sounds whatever, but it was, simply put, it was a Father's Day gift from my son, and it broke, and it was, like almost like a metaphor of just everything just crumbling. So there's that. And what I'm trying to highlight is all of these tiny little pieces. If you put them all together, you've got the fact that, me and Christmas have had this really mixed relationship over the years, and I'm really trying to correct that, and I'm really trying to enjoy it more and have a better time and look forward to it more and experience more. Like today I was like, I might watch It's a Wonderful Life, because I haven't seen it in a million years, and I feel like maybe that'll help. Help's probably not the right word. I've been really struggling because Leanne, to her credit, is just desperately trying to sort all of Christmas, barring the stuff that she can't do, because the stuff I need to do. She's trying to sort all of Christmas now, right at this very moment, at every moment. And it's just the sheer stress of all of that in itself. I'm like, I don't know how you keep going. But she's just, and I need to do this. And I need to order this. And I need to arrange this. And I need to check this. And I'm like, you are exhausting me by proxy. But to go with all of that, what the fuck has just lit up over there? What the fuck is that? Something in a box over the other side of the room has just randomly lit up. There you go. To go with all of that, the boxes. The boxes, right? There's so many boxes. The boxes are everywhere. I feel when I walk round the house that I'm gonna get buried under a landslide of boxes. And those people that get buried, like the people who are hoarders that get buried under the stuff that they've hoarded and then end up dying and they're not found for a long time. It feels like that. Like I walk past like these towering box towers and I'm like, that's going to fall over and kill me. Doesn't help that one of the most precarious pile of boxes I know has got stuff in that has definitely got the capability of killing me. So, all of these little pieces of things, and it's all at once. It's everything, all at once. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I can deal with each thing individually, let alone all of them together at once. For example, I haven't even begun Christmas shopping because I'm not in a position to do that. I was waiting until this week to know that I was going to be in a position to start like buying stuff here, there and everywhere, sorting stuff out. For me, my side of things is a lot of sorting stuff. It's a lot of going to a place, paying for a thing and being done with it. And one of the entertaining ones I've got to do this week or next week is going to be me walking into a place that I go to frequently and saying, I would like to purchase this, and this, and being like, and here is a massive amount of money. I was trying to work it out. I was like, yeah, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And I imagine they're going to look at me like I've got 9 heads, let alone 2 heads. They'll be like, what? I'm like, those are the things I want. Those are the things I asked for. Those are the things I want. So please do that for me now. Thank you. So, like I say, for me, Christmas is a lot of sorting and stuff, and just that one shopping trip is going to cover 50% of some stuff. So it's worthwhile and stuff. But oh God, haven't even begun. Don't know if it's going to be this week. It could be next week. And I'm then going to have I need to pay for this. And I need to pay for that. And I need to pay for the other. And I've already got, because Leanne's been running around doing all that stuff, she's just, at the end of it, she's just like, hand out, like, you owe me half the money for all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that, the children are going to be sorted and that's great. But that's a big pound sign. So yeah, it's just bracing yourself for things like that. And it's like, fuck, bro. I think, I'm just trying to highlight how stressful. I imagine somebody listening to this right now being like, you're stressed. Let me tell you about why I'm stressed. So, I want to say last Friday was Black Friday. Problem you've got there is that Black Friday doesn't exist anymore, because by the time you get to Black Friday, you've had Black Friday for 2 weeks or a month in some cases. You know that you've got Cyber Monday 2 days later, and by now everybody knows that prices are just hiked Black Friday, so the deal that you're getting is absolutely not a deal, and it was cheaper at other points in time, and there are places you can go to look at like how cheap or expensive or whatever things are, and you realise that ultimately it's just companies' way of screwing you over yet again. I looked at some stuff on Black Friday where I went, oh, you're not even cheap or on sale or any of that sort of stuff. I saw multiple items that were cheaper the day before. There was a load of I've been recollecting the DC animated movies are on digital. They were all cheap the week before Black Friday. Black Friday rolls around, they put the prices, all of them, back up, etc, etc, etc. Ultimately, what does this mean? I know what you're thinking. What did you buy? Nothing. I didn't buy anything. As I keep saying to people, it's become so incredibly watered down at this point in time. I think it's crossed that line of it's just. I've seen so much stuff. Americans are mad for Black Friday, but I've seen so much stuff over the last few days of where people have just been absolutely mugged off. There were the people that queued up all night for a store that opened at 6 a.m. and they were going to give people all these bags, these goodie bags, and people were like sleeping on the streets overnight. They go in, they get the bag, they open the bag, and it's got like a handful of super generic items in. Admittedly, free, so you're winning in that sense, but yeah, you got fucked over on that one. There was a lot of because obviously you get a lot of the supermarkets in America, they open the doors and people smash the doors and steal, they get all the TVs and they're running off and people stealing things from other people's baskets, and there's fights and riots and all sorts of stuff. But this year there was a lot of people talking about how shops were empty rather than the usual riots going on. I know here in the UK we don't generally have that sort of thing, and it's just like, you know, everyone goes to Amazon and just orders a load of stuff. But like I say, I saw multiple things that were more expensive. Like I obviously I had my eye on stuff, so I was like, I need to buy this, and if I can get it cheaper on Black Friday, I will, but I'm not going to buy it beforehand. And it's like, oh, that item's gone up in price. Wonderful. My favourite was on Black Friday, there was a particular computer game, which will remain nameless, which has had a particularly poor reception. It dropped in price. I think it was the second week it was out, etc., etc. All this was available on Black Friday for £106 on Amazon. So, you know, there's that. Short version is I didn't buy anything. Now then, caveat. There was a sale I was interested in. However, I was aware that a certain somebody might be more interested in that sale for me. So I did say, hey, there is this sale on. Do you want me to tell you the things that I would like for Christmas, and you could then purchase them in the sale cheaper? Does that help you, yes or no? And they were like, tell me what you want. So, skirted that one. And there was something that I'd had my eye on for a little while. And again, it was one of those items. It was a certain price the week before, and then Amazon doubled the price on it for Black Friday, which is hilarious. It's had terrible reviews. However, it was cheaper elsewhere, which seemed to be the theme of things. So there was like odd bits and pieces like that. I spent my time mostly just looking at prices of things going, that's expensive. The one thing that I wanted to get, the last film of the year that I've been trying to get cheap, it's been holding its price for months. I'm like, do I just pay what they want? Because it doesn't seem to be coming down in price. I was like, hang on. That film is definitely coming down in price for Black Friday. That's what they've been waiting all this time for. Nope. Stay the same price. I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. Waited until Cyber Monday. Today, Cyber Monday. Yeah, it's still the same price. The absolute, what I've got to say is a win in a lot of ways. My newer Steam Deck has an issue. I don't know why, and I don't know what, and I don't know if I need to contact Steam or Valve or whoever and say, can you just give me some ideas what the deal here is, because I've done a lot of stuff to change things, but it doesn't seem any better. So can you just give me an idea? One of the things was when I googled around, it said your memory card's not fast enough, and I said, oh, okay. So I googled fastest memory card of a particular size, and it returned one result, and I went, cool. And I looked it up, and it was a certain price, and I was like, that's definitely coming down Black Friday. Had a conversation with Leanne. I was like, this is on my Christmas list so that I can make the whole situation with the Steam Deck better. Just so you're aware, it might go into Black Friday. If it does, we should probably look at getting it because it'll be quite a decent saving. The item did go into a form of Black Friday. It's a really long story that is completely unnecessary. Let's just say it made it worthwhile getting it. But I told Leanne, hey, you might want to look at this. So she goes off, toddles off where she goes. She has a look. She's like, apparently I've bought this item previously. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, it says here, last bought X. I'm like, okay, that's strange. Hang on a minute, let me just check something. So I went to the Steam Deck and I popped out the memory card, and that was the exact memory card I was looking at, and was like, oh, that would have been fucking awful. Because it wasn't cheap. Even with a discount, it wasn't cheap. If she'd have paid that money and it had turned up and I went to swap them over and gone, oh, it's the same one. So, well and truly dodged a bullet there. Largely I don't really see the point to it. It baffles me now. I remember when it used to be a thing, like it used to be like a real sort of a thing where you were like, oh my God, Black Friday. Brr. But like I say, now it's 2 weeks long and you're not saving any money. So what's the point? Let's talk about some entertainment stuff. I have a fair amount. TV, movie, computer games, ironic. So, Tokyo Ghoul Season 2, Episodes 10, 11, and 12, which finished Season 2. It is nothing short of fantastic. It's a great series. Those first 2 series are just chef's kiss. So good. Such a good series. I'd put off watching it for quite some time because I was like, I remember it being just great. And I don't know if there was a part of me that didn't want to go back and either realise it wasn't as good or whatever. So I put off watching it, and then, like I say, it was one of those. Being able to just stick it on the treadmill and watch it's been good. I've had some tough treadmill sessions recently, so it's really helped to be able to sort of engage with something. Having finished Season 2, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to give Series 3 a good go. I've watched the first episode. I believe I've started the second episode. Although I think I'm quite a way into the second episode. What I will say is this. I've already remembered what I didn't like about Series 3, and the reason that I never continued with it was largely it's doing the, hey, these people were in the first 2 series. But they were all sub-characters. So, there's that. Also, we've got a lot of new characters, and they're all like different, and they're not cliche as such, but quite cliche. Oh, but the main character from the original is still kind of in it, sort of. We're not going to explain that just yet, but trust us, they're still around, and you're like, oh, okay. Does that make this good? They've also, and weirdly, they also have seemed to have done this thing where they're like, one of the main sort of things that the first 2 series centered around, we're going to make that a real thing now. And you're like, that was all part of the original 2 series. Making it a thing is, I don't know if it defeats the object. I will stick with it. I've set myself the task of watching it this time around because I feel like it probably has to have been good enough to get a series. So I'm like, let me give it a fair shot this time. Peacemaker Series 2, Episode 4 and 5 in the bag. Would have watched 6 this evening, but I needed to catch up with the American football, so did not Might get episode 6 in tomorrow. Probably not important. It will be important come this time next week. I'm enjoying it. They've revealed the twist, which I already knew. I mentioned it to Leanne, and I was like, "Do you know the twist?" She was like, "No." I was like, "Do you want me to tell you?" She was like, "No." Like, okay then. So they've revealed the twist in the fact that I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, they've revealed the twist. I'm liking the series. I'm enjoying the series. The series is different. It's very much like a series 2. You guys know what I think about second series of anything, but done well. I quite like James Gunn. I quite like the way he does things. I quite like a lot of the stuff he's done. All if you take all 3 Guardians movies as a whole, good. The latest Superman, Suicide Squad, stuff like that. He generally does a good job. So I'm with him. To explain it to you guys, I can't quite put my finger on what I mean for this series. Series 1 was Peacemaker. I feel like Series 2 should be called Chris Smith. Because, for anybody that doesn't know, Chris Smith is Peacemaker's identity. I don't feel that's a spoiler. Maybe it is. Series 1 was like Peacemaker coming to terms with like the bad things he'd done as Peacemaker, and dealing with that, and also dealing with like having this sort of like this group of ultimately co-workers that turn into friends, and then there's like this budding relationship sort of thing. Again, that's probably spoilers, but bro, come on. Whereas the second series is just him, and him being vulnerable, and it's just all around this, essentially this love story where you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing that sort of thing, and you're like, I mean, that's fine, but I didn't realise that's what we were doing. So, and like like I say, you've got these episodes that are really good episodes, they're really good, they're really enjoyable. I'm enjoying them, I enjoy watching it, but it feels slightly disjointed in a sense. It doesn't feel like Peacemaker, I suppose. Mainly I watched a movie, and we watched a new movie, and one of those it didn't take a lot of convincing to convince Leanne to watch this film, which in a lot of ways didn't really surprise me because it ticked a few boxes for her. One of those boxes being hyperviolence. The lady likes hyperviolence. We watched I don't know if you call it a remake or a reboot or just a version of Toxic Avenger. I had reasonable hopes. I used to like the original. It was kind of a good one to put on and watch. Kind of had high hopes. I hoped it was going to be a particular way. And the short version is it wasn't. It had humour, it had the hyperviolence and all of that. The number one thing that took me out of the film immediately was when I worked out that Peter Dinklage isn't in the costume. And in fact, it's a lady who, I'm sure it said that she was British Portuguese or something. I was like, okay. And then I read all this stuff about how like he'd acted it all out on camera, on video, like camera, and then she took the tapes and she then recreated his actions and mannerisms in the suit. And there'd been this thing, it was like the suit was like £30 of foam and latex, and servos and stuff for the moving parts of the face, and I was like, fucking hell. But at the same time, I was like, and why did Peter Dinklage not do it? Kevin Bacon's in it, and Kevin Bacon's great in basically everything he does, so you've got that. I'm sure there was someone else. There were some characters that weren't super strong characters, so there was that was a bit like and I said at the end, I was like, this was a solid 6 out of 10 for me. Leanne was amazed. She was like, I would thought it was like 8 out of 10. Like, really? And I was like, oh yeah, of course, it had a lot in it. Like, it's a little bit funny in places, hyper violent, over the top, like really over the top. Yeah, for me, it was fine. I hate, this is one of those that I hate to say, but I do wish I hadn't bought it. I wish I'd rented that. That was a rental for me. I don't think either of us are going to sit and watch it again. I'm certainly in no rush to watch it again. So I'm a bit like, that was a rental. That was a rental for me. I haven't played any VR in a while. There are a series of reasons for this. One, I went through previously that I was on some issues. I need to do a new loadout for Into the Radius 2, but I just haven't been able to get the time. I've been holding off because I want to play the Deadpool game, but it's really expensive, and I don't have the. No, it's not the funds. It's just, you know, when something's really expensive for what it is, and you're like, I can't really pay that right now. So there's that. There's like a hope that there might be some sort of Christmas sale, end of year sale that might get a small discount. I don't know, maybe. So all computer games at this point in time are console of some description. I do have a new game, which feels a little unnecessary in some ways, but necessary in others. So I'll explain why. I don't know which order to do these in. Least important to most important. Yeah, let's do it in reverse. DC Universe. Me and my eldest made a character together. She agreed to bin off one of her characters. Turned out she didn't need to. We had space for another character, so that was a bit whatever. But we made a new character. I paid £4 for a power set, so we got the rock power, and no, I don't mean the music. I mean the rock. We made this character. We were working on the principle we were going to play it together, and that was kind of that. In the process of trying to pick the powers, I saw a power that I was like, that power interests me. That power sounds cool. And like I say, we actually had space for another character, so I used the space. And I made a character who's got, I was going to say cosmic. It might be cosmic powers. Basically, you can create black holes and gravity type things. And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. Having made this character, their powers are cool. I am enjoying them. So I've been playing that a little bit. I've shied away from my other characters recently. Even my big boy, my top dog. There's only a few little tiny bits left before he is a absolute max character. But I did purchase Crypto the Wonder Dog as an ally recently. So I do need to look at leveling him up. Chronos. Maybe you didn't think we'd be talking about Chronos anytime soon. And if I'm honest, neither did I. I thought I was kind of done with it. And over the space of literally a week, I plugged away at the final boss, learning the phases. There are 5. And it took me 5 days of playing little bits here and there. And when I say little bits, I do mean an hour. And then on the final day, I put a whole hour into trying to beat the last boss. And I actually managed it and have finished Chronos, The New Dawn. Honestly, hands down, one of the hardest games I've ever played. I believe it's one of the hardest games a lot of people have ever played. So the fact I've finished it is kind of like a little feather in the cap. Yeah, just an insane feeling to be able to say I finished this game, and I feel really good about it. And maybe that's another reason why games are a little more important these days. It feels like winning at life, even though you've been punched in the face 9,000 times on one game. I did start New Game Plus. You guys know how much I love the New Game Plus. And honestly, if I'm brutally honest, this is how it should have been all along. This is the way this game should have been. It plays so much better. Yes, you are super overpowered. Yes, you know what you're doing. Yes, you know where you're going. It is still a challenge. I've died once so far. But it's so much fun just absolutely wailing on all these enemies that fucked you over the first time. It's so good. So yes, also apparently there is another ending you can get, which you can only get through playing New Game Plus. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And my new game, I said there was a reason for it, and it's because one of the games I've asked for Christmas, I got into a conversation with somebody and they were like, did you play the second one? And I was like, I think so. Whilst desperately scrambling through the memory banks to think if that was true or not. And I was like, I have a feeling that there was an element that put me off a little bit. And then I was like, maybe I played it on Game Pass and all this. Anyway, short version was through a sale, not Black Friday sale. It was just a sale on games. I was able to pick up Dying Light 2. I've played the first one. I enjoyed the first one to a degree. And like I say, haven't played the second one, or have played it and I don't know. But I've asked for the third one for Christmas because it's had really good reviews. Somebody I was talking to a couple of weeks ago said that they'd bought it cheap and were enjoying it. And I was like, yeah, I've asked for it for Christmas. They're like, did you play the second one? Like, So, whilst I'm waiting for Christmas, I was like, pick up Dying Light 2 cheap, give it a go. It has some elements I don't like. First person hack and slash type thing. It's very Dead Island in that sense. You've got these sort of makeshift weapons, very Dead Island, and so on. One of my least favourite elements in any game, if you die, you lose stuff. For this, it's not equipment, it's XP. You get XP for doing a lot of stuff in the game. If you climb a building, you get parkour XP. And if you hit a zombie in the head with a hammer, you get combat XP. Which is great, because you do both a lot. However, if you die, you lose it. Now, I will say this. I do think that might only be if it happens at night, because I think you get higher XP for night stuff. I generally try and just do stuff during the day. Honestly, I don't want to have to deal with the night stuff. Again, any game where it's like dark or light, you know that nighttime is going to be Billy bullshit. So there's that side of things. I am enjoying it. I don't want to say really enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm playing it a fair amount. I'm enjoying it and playing it and so on. It does have some negatives, like I've just been through. Some things that I don't like about games, like survival, horror type games, are always leaning towards, we don't ever want you to be comfortable, see Chronos, and we don't ever want you to be able to get off the back foot, see every survival horror game in the world. This seems to have a good amount of resource, just the right amount of resource in a lot of ways. Whilst also withholding a lot of stuff. There's a lot of upgrades, and any upgrade you look at, it's like, oh man, I'd really like that upgrade, but obviously you can only get so many at certain times, etc. Because of that, I have had a tendency to go looking for fights with zombies, like I say, during the day, because of getting that sweet XP. So far, enjoyable. I will continue playing it, and we'll see where it goes. I've just been doing the main story. That's the other thing. I'm just doing main story. I nearly did a side mission the other day, and then the game was like, hey, get back to the main story. I was like, okay. So, yeah, there you go. Right, there we go. That is the podcast for this week. Thanks for joining. Sorry for moaning on. You know me. Every now and then I have to get a moan out. Right, I'll catch you next time. There you go. What'd you think's that? Another one done. Another one gone. Probably for the best, hey? Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, if you want to be more involved, you want to be a part of this, want to be one of the crew members, like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media buttons, social media links, an email button. You can get in touch with us however you feel you want to. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome Cookie Cast.